The birds dropped out of the sky at exactly 1:03 in the afternoon. Not one or two, all of them. Every sparrow, every starling, every pigeon that had been wheeling above Maplewood's rooftops simply folded its wings and disappeared. Mrs. Bellamy saw it happen from her front porch. 1 second, the sky was alive and chattering. The next, it was a blank, golden sheet of nothing. She set down her pruning shears. "That's odd," she whispered. Then she picked them back up and kept trimming her roses, because Mrs. Bellamy had lived 71 years by minding her business, and she wasn't about to stop now. She should have stopped. By 2:15, the school bus groaned to a halt at the corner of Maplewood and Sycamore and released its daily flood of children. Donna Marsh stood at her kitchen window with a mug of coffee, watching for her son Tyler the way she had every afternoon for 4 years. She spotted him immediately, red backpack, blue sneakers, the slight bounce in his step that she'd loved since he learned to walk. Except today, there was no bounce. Tyler walked up the driveway like a man 3 times his age. No skipping, no kicking at pebbles. He didn't wave at his best friend Marcus across the street. He didn't even look up. Donna opened the front door before he reached it. "Hey baby, how was school?" Tyler looked at her. His eyes were calm. Too calm. The eyes of a child who had just had the best day of his life looked nothing like this. Neither did the eyes of a child who had had a terrible one. These eyes were simply empty, like someone had reached in and turned a dial all the way down. "Fine," he said, and walked past her into the house. Donna turned and watched him sit at the kitchen table. He placed both hands flat on the surface, stared at the wall, and said nothing else. "Do you want a snack? I made—" "No, thank you." She stood in the doorway for a long moment. Then she picked up her phone and called her neighbor, Patricia. "Pat, does Emma seem weird to you right now?" A pause. Then Patricia's voice dropped low. "She's been sitting on the stairs for 20 minutes staring at the front door. I asked her what she was looking at, and she said, 'Nothing yet.' Donna, what does that mean?" "I don't know." Donna moved to the hallway so Tyler couldn't hear her. "Something happened. Maybe at school. I'm going to call the other mothers." She called 6 of them. Every single one said the same thing. Their child had come home silent. Their child was sitting somewhere, staring at something, completely unreachable. Jenny Alcott's boy had walked straight past her without blinking. Roy Delaney's twin daughters were sitting side by side on the couch, not speaking, not moving, holding hands the way they only did during thunderstorms. "We need to talk," Donna said. "Front mailboxes, 5 minutes. By 3 o'clock, 7 parents were clustered at the end of Donna's driveway in the sharp September sunlight. No one had thought to change out of their houseclothes. Patricia still had a dish towel thrown over her shoulder. Roy was holding a spatula. "It's a drill," Roy said immediately, before anyone else could speak. "The school does those active safety drills, and they traumatize the kids for days. Remember last spring?" "Tyler has been through 6 of those drills," Donna said. "He has never once come home and stared at a wall. Then it's something he ate." "Roy." Jenny grabbed his arm. "My son looked at me like he didn't know my name. He knows my name. He came out of my body. Something is wrong." That silenced Roy and his spatula. They stood in the warm afternoon air, trying to build explanations out of nothing. And then old Gerald Hooper shuffled past them on his daily walk, walking stick-clicking, hat brim low, and paused when he saw the group. "You all feel it too, then," Gerald said. It wasn't a question. Donna stepped forward. "Gerald, the kids. It's not just the kids." His voice was quiet, matter of fact. The voice of a man who had decided some time ago that panic was a waste of energy. "Walk with me." They didn't all go. Roy stayed behind, muttering about hysteria. But Donna and Patricia and Jenny followed Gerald to the end of the block, where he stopped and pointed at the curb. The pavement was wet. Not from rain. The sky had been cloudless all day. A dark, narrow trail ran along the gutter like a slow river, glistening in the afternoon sun, disappearing around the corner ahead of them. Patricia crouched down and reached for it. "Don't," Gerald said sharply. She pulled her hand back. "What is it?" "I touched it earlier on my walk. It was warm." He paused. "It followed me. Every corner I turned, it was already there. When I turned around to come home, everything behind me was dry. Like it had only ever existed to walk beside me." Jenny laughed, a short, scared sound. "Gerald, that's not possible." "No," he agreed. "It isn't." He looked down at the trail. Lot of impossible things happening this afternoon. They stood there in silence, the sun pressing down on their shoulders, the wet trail glistening at their feet like something alive. And Donna noticed then that her hands were shaking. She went back to the house. By 4 o'clock, the smell arrived. It came through the windows, through the walls, through the spaces under doors. Sweet, warm, almost floral. Somewhere between honeysuckle and something underneath it that had no name. The kind of smell that stopped your thoughts mid-sentence and replaced them with a memory you couldn't quite place. Sunday afternoons when you were 8. Summer grass. Something baking. Your mother's voice from another room. Except wrong. The warmth of the memory was there. But underneath it was something rotten. Faint. Like fruit going bad in a drawer you'd forgotten to open. Donna stood in her kitchen, breathing it in, and felt her eyes fill with tears she did not understand. Patricia called to say she'd smelled it too, and started crying on the phone without knowing why. Even Roy, who had gone back inside to finish making dinner, opened his back door and stood there with the spatula at his side, face slack, eyes far away. Donna asked Tyler if he could smell anything. He looked at her steadily. "No," he said. "Can you?" The way he said it turned her blood cold. Not like a child asking an innocent question. Like something curious about her reaction. Like something taking notes. She backed out of the kitchen. At 4:47, she made herself go back in. Tyler was still at the table, but now he had turned in his chair to face the wall where the family portrait hung. The Christmas photo from 3 years ago. Donna in a red sweater. Her ex-husband, Mark, still smiling back then. Tyler, gap-toothed and grinning, with his eyes squeezed shut from laughing at something off camera. He was staring at it with the kind of focus that should have hurt his eyes. "Tyler." She kept her voice even. "What are you thinking about, sweetheart?" He didn't answer for a long moment. The afternoon light had shifted, coming in low and amber through the window, painting everything gold and strange. Then he said, "How much longer?" Donna's breath stopped. "Longer than what, baby?" He turned and looked at her. For 1 second, just one, less than a heartbeat, the face was wrong. Not Tyler wrong. Not sick wrong. Ancient wrong. The eyes were his eyes. The freckles were his freckles. The little scar on his chin from the bike fall was right where it always was. But the expression behind all of it was something that had been waiting in the dark of a very, very long time. Something that had no age and no name and no hurry at all. Then he blinked. And it was just Tyler. Her Tyler. Looking at her with mild, tired 9-year-old eyes. "I don't know," he said softly. "I just keep thinking that phrase. Is that weird?" Donna crossed the room and pulled him into her arms so hard he made a small sound of surprise. She held him there, pressing her cheek to the top of his head, feeling his small hands eventually come up and pat her back the way he did when he thought she needed comforting. "Mum, are you okay?" "Yes," she lied. "Yes, baby, I'm fine." At 5:30, every child in Maplewood stood up, not one at a time, not in a ripple. All of them, every single child on every street in the neighborhood, rose to their feet at the exact same moment. Parents who saw it happen would later struggle to describe what was most frightening about it: the synchronicity, or the silence, or the utter absence of expression on every face. They walked to the windows. They pressed their palms flat against the glass, and they stared out at the street below with those wide, calm, ancient eyes. Donna stood behind Tyler, both hands on his shoulders, staring past him at the empty road. Patricia burst out of her front door across the street, saw Emma at the window, and screamed her daughter's name. Emma did not turn. Roy came out next, then Jenny, then the Garcias from the end of the block, all of them stumbling into the amber afternoon, looking up at their own windows where their children stood motionless, palms to the glass, waiting. Waiting for what? Gerald was already outside. He had been outside for 10 minutes. He pointed at the curb, and Donna looked down and felt her legs go weak. The wet trail was back, and it wasn't just a trickle anymore. It ran the full length of the street, dark and glistening, and it was moving, pulsing, slowly, rhythmically, like something enormous breathing just beneath the surface of the pavement. Gerald. Donna grabbed his arm. Gerald, what do we do? He looked at her. She had always thought of him as a calm man, an unbothered man. But what she saw on his face now was not calm. It was the look of someone who had done the maths and didn't like the answer. We should have asked that question this morning, he said. Then the tree line at the far end of Maplewood shifted. Not from wind. There was no wind. The trees simply moved, bent sideways like something large had pushed between them. And then something stepped out of the woods into the dying afternoon light. It didn't crouch. It didn't hide. It walked into full sunlight without hesitation, without shame, because it had learned, long ago, in some other town, on some other quiet afternoon, that people only ever look over their shoulders in the dark. Nobody ran. They should have. But their legs had forgotten how. Above them, in every window, the children watched with those old, patient eyes, palms still flat against the glass, as though welcoming something home. The last thing the sun touched before it dropped below the tree line was the wet trail on the street, running straight from the woods to the front doors of every house on Maplewood. The streetlights were supposed to flicker on at 6:02. They never did. If this story had you holding your breath, you're exactly the kind of person who belongs here. Hit subscribe so you never miss the next one. Drop a comment and tell me the moment it got you. And if someone you know sleeps with the lights on, share this with them.